Welcome back. I'm Annette Harris, and today we need to talk about something I'm tired of watching people learn the hard way. Because sometimes it's not that people don't care about their money, their benefits, or their future. It's that nobody slowed down long enough to explain what actually matters. That is what we do here. We make the complicated stuff plain, practical, and useful. So let's get into it. Here's the truth I'm tired of watching play out. People hear a CD rate, get excited, and never stop to ask what that number actually means for their money. I don't want you to think a CD is simple just because it sounds safe. Safe does not mean self-explanatory. A lot of people are not losing money because they're reckless. They're losing clarity because the fine print is doing more work than the headline. So today we're talking about CD laddering, how it actually works, why APY can be misleading if you don't understand term length, and what you need to pay attention to before your CD matures. And before we get into it, I want to share something with you. My goal is to reach 10,000 subscribers by the end of the year. And if I hit that goal, I will donate $50 in honor of 5 subscribers to the Folds of Honor Scholarship. So, if you subscribe, leave your name below in the comments so I can add you to the randomizer and see if your name is selected. Now, let's get into this because this topic sounds simple, but too many people are walking into it halfway informed. The issue with CDs is not always the CD itself. It's that people hear one number and think that number tells the whole story. It does not. If a bank says a 6-month CD has a 4% APY, a lot of people hear that and think, great, my money is going to go up 4% in 6 months. No, that is where people get tripped up. APY is annual. That means yearly. So if you're only holding the CD for 6 months, you're not earning the full annual increase over the 6-month period. You're earning roughly half of that annual rate over half the year, depending on compounding and the bank's terms. Now, that may sound obvious once you hear it, but a lot of people have never had it explained to them that way. A CD is a certificate of deposit. You put your money in for a fixed amount of time, and in exchange, the bank gives you a fixed rate. The catch is your money is meant to stay there for that term. So if you pull it out early, you may have to pay an early withdrawal penalty. And that is the trade-off. You're getting more structure, more predictability, and often a stronger rate than a basic savings account. But you're giving up some flexibility. And honestly, that part is fine if you know what you're doing. The problem is too many people go into CDs thinking only about the rate and not enough about the timing. That is where laddering comes in. CD laddering means you split your money across different CDs with different maturity dates instead of putting everything into one. Why? Because it helps solve 2 competing problems. You want your money to earn something, but you also want access to some of it without waiting forever. So instead of putting all your cash into one 12-month CD, you might divide it up into shorter intervals. That way, one piece of your money comes available sooner, another piece later, and you don't have all of your savings locked up at the same time. That is the beauty of a ladder. It creates rhythm. And one of the smartest comments I received on this topic pointed out something important. They said people need to understand that interest rates are affected by holding time. Exactly. Because the industry puts the APY front and center, the holding period does a lot of the real work. So if you buy a 6-month CD at a 4% APY, you're not getting a 4% gain in 6 months. And if you buy a 15-month CD, you need to think about that as 1 year plus 3 more months. That means rate and time have to be read together, not separately. And I think that is the part people miss. They compare rates without really comparing how long their money is actually tied up. Now let's talk about another issue that does not get enough attention: auto renew. This is one of those things that sounds convenient until it's not. A CD matures, you're busy, you forget about it, and the bank rolls it over into a new CD automatically. Now, maybe the new rate is fine, but maybe it's not. And that is the problem. One viewer shared that they had a CD go from 3% to 0.1% after automatic rollover. That is the kind of moment that makes people feel like the system played in their face. So here's my advice. When a CD matures, do not just let it sit there. Look at the current rate, look at your cash flow needs, look at your goals, and make a fresh decision. Because once the new interest rate is in writing, you know exactly what you're agreeing to. That is a much stronger position than just letting inertia decide for you. Let me make this practical. Say you have $12,000 you want to put to work. Instead of opening one CD for the full amount, you could break it up. Maybe you put $3,000 into a 3-month CD, $3,000 into a 6-month CD, $3,000 into a 9-month CD, and $3,000 into a 12-month CD. Now you have created staggered maturity dates. So every few months, some money becomes available. And when each CD matures, you get to decide. Do I need this cash now? Do I want to reinvest it? Do I want to move it to the longest rung and keep the ladder going? That is the strategy. And once it is built, it can feel much more intentional than just parking money randomly. Now let's talk about a version of laddering that I really like for smaller investors. That's for you beginners. Instead of trying to build a big, complicated ladder, you can simply buy a 1-year CD every 6 months. That means every 6 months, one CD matures. This can be a smart option for someone who wants periodic access to money without overcomplicating things. It also gives you a chance to reset based on current interest rates instead of getting stuck in one long timeline. And that kind of structure can feel a lot more manageable for everyday savers, especially if you're still building, especially if you don't have a massive cash reserve, and especially if peace of mind matters to you. Now, I will say this, CD laddering is not for everyone. If you need all of your emergency money fully accessible at any moment, you may want more cash in a high-yield savings account. If you know you're not going to track maturity dates, you may not want multiple CDs to manage. And if you're chasing the highest possible return, this may feel too conservative. But if you want predictability, structure, and regular access points to cash, CD laddering can make a lot of sense. It works well for the person who wants their money to have a plan. So here's the bottom line. CD laddering is not just about finding a good rate. It is about understanding the timeline, the maturity date, the rollover terms, and what your money is actually doing while it sits there. And that is the truth I'm tired of watching people miss. Because it's not always that people are making bad money decisions. Sometimes they're making decisions with incomplete understanding. And that is fixable. If this video helped you, subscribe, drop your name in the comments so I can add you to the randomizer. And remember, if we hit 10,000 subscribers by year end, I will donate $50 in honor of 5 subscribers to the Folds of Honor Scholarship to help the next military dependent. Thank you for being here, and I will see you in the next one.